Hey, everybody, and welcome to We Watch TV. It is the podcast about the TV that we watch. I am Daniel. She is Hope. This is episode 99.
Wow.
We made it. We are one away from the infamous episode 100. And, folks, let me tell you, we have absolutely no idea what we're going to do to celebrate.
Yeah.
Nothing at all. So if you have suggestions on what we should do to celebrate our 100th episode, hit us up, let us know, because we're just both completely, just off in space trying to think about what we could possibly do.
And we're not going to list our 100 favorite episodes of Star Trek.
Oh, well, that's where we're at right now, is that I've been throwing suggestions out there, and she's been knocking them down. And
I could give you 100 reasons why A Muppet Christmas Carol is the best version of A Christmas Carol.
I don't think anybody wants that either.
I think some people would like that content.
I don't think we should list 100 of anything. I don't think anybody wants that.
100 reasons of why the NCAA selection committee for March Madness is
Let it
trash.
go, Hope. Let it go. Let it go.
I will not.
Hey, spring is here.
Spring has sprung.
And as tradition dictates, here in West Virginia, the last day of winter, it was 80 degrees. And the first day of spring, it was 40 with 25-mile prevailing winds and cold and a little bit of rain.
We got all the seasons last week rolled into one. What's your favorite season? My favorite season's fall.
I used to be one of those dark emo people that would say winter.
Of course you were.
But
you are totally not that now.
As I have aged, winter has become harsh and tough on me, so probably fall. Because I guess I like a nice 70-ish, 60-ish day, and then get cold at night.
That's not winter. That's fall.
I know, that's fall, so that's what I mean.
Okay. I feel like the first couple weeks of winter are fun when it's still kind of the holiday season, but it's fall all the way. I know as I've aged, summer doesn't really matter to me. It's too hot. I feel like summer is nice, and if you're still one of those jobs that you get time off in the summer, good for you. But as a grown-up, summer is way too hot. It really doesn't mean that much to me anymore. I do like it some warm days. I like it when it's lighter to 9, but I would rank summer as not being as bad as winter, but it would probably be my second to least favorite season. I think I'd go fall, spring, summer, winter. That's probably how I would rank them. Sometimes summer and spring could be interchangeable just because we do get all the seasons in spring. How would you rank the seasons?
I wouldn't.
Oh my gosh, you have to rank them now. Everybody wants to know. I just gave you mine.
Everybody wants to know my seasons ranking.
Yes.
I'm going to go fall, spring, summer, winter. Winter has fallen all the way to the bottom.
The exact same as me.
Winter has fallen all the way to the bottom. Summer, honestly, it's summer and winter are right down there at the bottom together because they're both terrible. Seasonal depression that comes along with winter is just brutal. But the hot of the summer is just also terrible.
Goldilocks over here, people.
The one 80-degree day that we got last week was perfect. I'm done now. I can just stay in the 70s and the 60s the rest of the time.
That would be
ideal. I know it's not going to do that.
The Burr months are my favorite months, even though weather can be all over the place because it's Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, just the holiday season. There's so much excitement going on, and then it's just depression. Then I start to get a little happy. Then June, July, I might enjoy summer a little bit. Then I'm done with it. And then it's I'm ready to roll. I feel like I've been on the side of TikTok lately where there's a bunch of people out there like me that are I come alive in the Burr months. Do you like the Burr months? Obviously you do if you're in fall.
Yeah. They're great.
Okay. Well, back to spring. Speaking of spring comes Easter. With Easter comes Easter candy, which I think is the goated candy season. Halloween candy, of course, that's just basic candy. Easter candy has some specialty things. So because you guys like it when we do this, we both feel miserable having to rank stuff because we have decision paralysis. But hey, we love the viewers. I always say viewers, the listeners. So we're going to do this for you guys.
We're on YouTube. I mean, it's not video, but
you don't see us.
But they can view it if they'd like. It's just a static image.
Yeah. Anyway, we have we have both made lists of 5 types of Easter candy, and we are going to blind rank each of those.
I had to Google Easter candies because
had to do that
couldn't.
too!
I could only think of like 3.
I had to as well because there was some stuff that I'm like, well, that's not really like, they have like bunny shaped Kit Kats, and I'm like, that's not really like Easter candy. Now that's different from a Reese's egg because a Reese's egg is not at all the same thing as a Reese's peanut butter cup. It's
just
not
a Reese's cup.
No, it's not. It is absolutely not. And you have no opinion. You have no taste if you think that. The ratio of peanut butter to chocolate is exceptionally different in Reese's eggs. But now, it used to be like the Reese's egg was like something very special that came along each season. But now we can get Reese's pumpkins, Reese's trees, Reese's hearts.
Tune in
Reese's
next week
eggs.
when she lists off the 100 best Reese's formations.
I will. But still, the egg is the goated. I like the yellow packaging. Anybody that thinks a Reese's cup is the same thing as the Reese's egg / pumpkin / tree / heart, whatever, clearly is not a Reese's aficionado, like expert.
I'll wear that badge with honor.
All right. Well, do you want me to go first?
Sure.
And I rank them.
Sure. I've got 5 candies here. I was just playing with the order because the list was just the list I found on Google.
Do you remember that time we found that chocolate bunny that had like the Flavor Flav clock on it?
Yeah.
At Walmart.
The chocolate bunny folks, they do get creative with the bunnies. I will give them that.
Yeah.
Do you like the chocolate bunnies that are solid or the ones that are hollow?
It depends on what it's from. Like cheap, disgusting Hershey's, no. But if it's from like Hall's Chocolate, a local chocolatier in my
I didn't ask you
hometown
what
of
your your bunny's brand
Yes.
was. I said, do you like the bunnies that are solid
I am
chocolate
answering
bars?
the question.
Okay.
Like if it is okay. Rewind. I guess I didn't make myself clear enough. A solid bunny is better if it's a good chocolate. So if it's from like cheap Hershey's candy, crap, no, just give me a hollow one because people that like Hershey bars might as well eat a block of wax. I said what I said, Daniel.
I like that vomit taste.
And if it's from a nice chocolate place like Hall's Chocolates, which is a local chocolatier shop in Parkersburg, my hometown, or like Godiva or something, then I would go with the solid.
I like the hollow ones just because you can bite into them like you're actually biting into the bunny and make it a massacre. And
I
they
raise
crumble
you
apart.
a Reese's peanut butter filled chocolate bunny. That's also good. And
Well, the ratio would be completely messed up on that.
the ratio is even different on that one. They're all different. All the different types of Reese's.
Are you ready?
I guess.
First on the list, robin eggs.
Are those like the Whopper things?
Yeah.
I'll just do 4.
I'm not sure I've ever had one, but
You've had Whoppers though, right?
yeah.
They're basically just like Whoppers, but let's Easter it up a bit.
Cool. All right. Chocolate bunny. I didn't feel like there was an appropriate branding to assign to this one, so I'm just putting all chocolate bunnies out there.
I'm going to give the chocolate bunny the 3 slot.
All right. So you got the 4 and the 3 slot taken up. All right. Starburst jelly beans.
1.
Number 1. Starburst jelly beans. Okay. Peeps.
5.
All right. Cadbury egg.
What am I? Number 2?
2.
2.
right.
That's honestly probably how I
you
would
got-
rank it. I can't believe you didn't even put the Reese's egg on there. What's wrong with you?
Because it's just a Reese's cup.
No, it's
shaped
not.
like an egg.
No, it's not. The ratio of peanut butter and chocolate is so different. If you hand me a Reese's cup, I'd be like, ew, I don't want to eat this. You hand me a Reese's egg, it's so different. If you're a peanut butter lover like myself, you're definitely going to prefer just slammed on a remote. You're definitely going to prefer the Reese's egg. Oh.
All right. Come on. Hit me with my list.
The real
now.
ones would
Gosh.
know. Well, now I have to find my list. You made me so mad. Kinda hurt
This is
my-
ridiculous.
All right. Okay. Cadbury eggs.
4. I don't like Cadbury eggs.
Okay.
There's probably some stuff. I'm probably not gonna like any of this.
Number 2, Reese's eggs.
2.
Oh, we talk smack.
I like Reese's cups.
but we're still gonna. We talk smack. We're still gonna do slot. They're not the same thing as Reese's cups. Okay, number 3, classic chocolate bunny.
I'll go with a 3.
3. Okay, so right now you've got. What did you say? Cadbury eggs? You gave
4.
You gave them 4. I thought you gave them 3. So you gave Cadbury eggs 4. You gave Reese's eggs 2.
2.
And you gave Classic Chocolate Bunny 3.
Yeah.
Number 4, Peeps.
5.
5.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the last one, Brock's jelly beans.
I'm fine with any kind of. I'm fine with jelly beans.
Have you
being
had
at the
Brock's
top.
jelly beans recently? Have you?
Like Brock, the alter ego of Venom? I'm not sure
Brock's.
I understand here.
BRACHS. Like, it's a candy brand. I'm going to buy you some. They've got the black jelly beans in there.
Oh, is that like a licorice flavor?
Yeah.
Pass. No, thank you.
So you would take Peeps over those if you had known the order of the list?
No.
Still, you wouldn't take
No.
Peeps?
Peeps are disgusting. Air.
They're so gross. I used to like Peeps when I was a kid, and I would like it to get a little stale, and then I would eat it, but now it just gags me.
There's only one. If I had to break this list out to all candy, not just to all holiday candy and not just Easter candy, Peeps are barely over candy corn.
The only reason I would put candy corn over Peeps is because if you mix candy corn with it as like peanuts, it tastes like a Payday candy bar. Have you ever done that before? I thought I made you do it once. You just don't remember. You just don't remember anything.
I don't believe that this is true.
I can't believe you didn't give me Reese's eggs.
It
would
if
still
it was
be
a
my
regular,
two
if it was a
slot.
list of regular candy, maybe I would have put Reese's on there.
No, the egg is different. Everybody, if you are a peanut butter lover, everybody knows that those taste better than the regular Reese's because of the ratio. You're just not a peanut butter lover. If you gave me a jar of peanut butter right now, I would eat the whole thing.
Now, what did you tell me recently about the peanut butter Reese's carrots that I got you by accident? I think
Okay, Mr. Label Adverse over here. Can't read anything. He comes to bring me a bag of the many Reese's eggs, and I look, and I'm like, these aren't eggs. They're like Reese's carrots, and the ratio on that is so wrong. You might like those better because it's more of that waxy chocolate you like. I said, though, that those tasted, they were like inedible before, but once I put those in the fridge to get them a little cold, they were actually halfway decent. They were more like a Reese cup.
a traditional Reese cup.
Yes.
Okay. Hey, so we did watch some television, some pretty big things, honestly. Maybe the biggest thing ever.
Yeah.
So we're going to start out here, but before we do, we want to try and get better in the habit of letting everybody know this is a spoiler podcast. So as we go forward talking about our shows, we're going to jump into spoilers. We do provide chapter markers down in the description for you. So if you want to see what we're going to talk about, hit that pause button, go down and take a look. If you don't want to hear about the shows that were one of the shows, you can skip around as you like. But be warned, we are going to talk spoilers about everything that comes next.
Too bad they can't sever themselves to listen to the parts of the podcast they don't know. All right, Severance, Season 2 finale. But let's just go with first reaction. I'm going to go with, and this is going to sound extreme, I'm not talking about series finales because that's a whole different ballgame to navigate a series finale. Season finales in general, maybe even just an episode of TV in general, best thing I've ever watched.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. I thought they would have a hard time topping Severance Season 1's finale. And in a completely different way, they just blew it completely out of the water.
The Season 1 finale was still amazing, but this just elevated it. The whole episode, and it was a long episode, right? Like, what was the runtime on it?
But an hour 17. I would sever myself.
I thought you said it was an hour 40. Oh, so it wasn't an hour 40. It was an hour 17.
No, hour 17. I would sever myself just to be able to watch Severance Season 1 and Season 2 again for the first time.
Then you'd have your two different people.
Yeah, and you know what? I wouldn't feel guilt like the other people do because my innie, all he does is watch Severance all the time and have snacks. Like, what a time that would be.
That would be pretty cool.
Unlike some of the other innies that have
like maybe last weekend, I was like, can I sever myself to go to the dentist?
So
please.
Yeah. I honestly, I don't know even how to begin to break that episode down because there was so much going on in there. And it didn't feel long. Like it did not feel like a long episode of television.
The whole episode, I was on edge, but in a good way. Like, it was almost like I was holding my breath. I was just so much anticipation. It delivered. It had everything. So we'll just go ahead and start off. It kind of begins, at least the most memorable scene sticks out, where we have Mark at the cabin, And the cabin is one of like this where they bring people that are severed to give birth. So that's how they were able to get Mark S and Mark Scout like intermixed. And they basically pulled a Parks and Rec, like where Ron Swanson recorded a video of himself when he was back with Tammy too, and be like, this means you've fallen for that evil woman again. But they basically were able to, the Innie and the Outie Mark were able to communicate. And I absolutely loved everything about that scene. What about you?
Yeah, it felt like the writing felt natural. You felt both of the characters. You could see the difference in the two characters.
That they're
how they
two
were
different
interacting.
people.
He was using a camcorder
Yeah.
to record messages back and forth. But as the scene went on, they started cutting faster and faster and faster to the point where it felt like they were just talking to
Like
each other in the
rapid
same
fire.
room from our perspective.
And it really did feel like, even though they are the same body person, they are two different people with two different experiences, which really is the whole point that Severance is trying to drive home with the Innies and Outies. And I have to say, I knew Outie Mark was cooked. The moment so basically he's telling him about like why it's so important if he do this so he can be reunited with Gemma. And he's like, oh, I see. And the way he talked to Annie Mark was just so like the way you talk to a child. He was like so condescending. He's like, well, I hear you found love down there with what's her name, Helena?
Yeah.
And it reminded me of the episode where Outie Mark was at the bar and Helena came up to him and was talking about Gemma, and she's like, oh, right, Hannah.
Yeah, the same condescension.
The same condescension.
And it's to show you the class markers that this show is trying to point out to you.
Yes.
And it was really well done when you put it together with those earlier scenes from the show.
Absolutely. And we are rooting, obviously, for both versions of Marks. Like, we feel for both of their stories. But it was just in that moment you see that Outie Mark, had that same amount of like being condescending and probably didn't even realize it because he is still not really thinking of his Annie as a person.
No.
Which was like the whole theme of it. And our boy Dylan, I think his Outie is the only one so far to see his Annie as truly
Yes, I agree.
a person. Yep. Because let's go ahead and get to that scene. Another fantastic scene. When we last left off, Annie Dylan was so upset about what happened and where he can't see like his Outie wife anymore that he wanted to terminate. And I guess your Outie has to agree with that. So he comes back and he's like, oh, so he's not going to let me do it. And Mr. Milkcheck delivers him the letter that Outie Dylan wrote. And I don't know what he had to go prepare for his, basically he needs to be the halftime show performance.
We'll get to that in a second.
He had to go prep. So he lays the letter down, sprints out of the room. And for people that don't think Severance is funny, it's little moments of physical comedy like that.
I think Severance is really funny in a dark way. But I think Severance is very funny.
Were you expecting him to lay the letter down and turn around and sprint?
No, that was kind of out of left field. But
my man's had rehearsal.
Yeah.
What can I say? But that letter from Outie Dylan was basically like, first off, F you. I thought that was funny. But then he was like, you do what you got to do. And I feel like that's just what a good guy Dylan is all around.
Yeah, before we go on, we didn't get any Bert or any Irving in this episode. I don't think that's to suggest that is gone, like that Irving's never coming back, but because we still never found out who he was talking to.
Yeah.
We just didn't get that payoff in this episode. That's probably a season 3 thing.
There's still lots of stuff to answer about his character, like because he was the one that was drawing the door. Why was Outie Irving drawing the door? There's still a lot of unanswered stuff with him, and I think, like you said, that could be for season 3. So we got Ms. Cobell. She was with Devin and Mark trying. We assume that they're gonna help with the plan on the outside. Do you think Ms. Cobell is done, or is she still trying to do something with this and work her way back in, bring a new era of Kier, a new era of Lumen?
I think Cobell's ultimate role in the show will be villain.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that in this season, because of how Lumen treated her at the end of season 1, pegging basically all the problems on her, she turned heel not turned heel, but turned good for the selfish purpose of pushing her forward. Yeah. And so
was it even good ultimately?
Ultimately, next season, I think she will turn back.
I think her character makes so much more sense now that we had her background episode and we found out that they are taking, literal children, or why she is that way. I think ultimately she was doing this to kind of stick it to him, and so that she can use it as a power play.
Correct. Yeah, I believe so. In fact,
And
for all we know,
I don't think Devin should trust her.
Yeah. So, and for all we know, Gemma gets out. We'll get to that in a minute. But for all we know, Devin and Miss Cobell are waiting out in the parking lot to pick her up.
Yeah.
And for all we know, Cobell turns right back around and said, "Look what I caught." I don't think it's going to go down that way, but it could.
All right. So we have Mark, Mark does agree that he's going to go back in to Lumen to go to work, or Outie Mark does, and is just going to trust that. Even though he's like, I don't know, there was that little conversation about it, like, do you believe me? Like the no, that part. But whatever be the case, Outie Mark's going to show up to work, hope that Any Mark goes with the plan. So we've got Any Mark completing Cold Harbor, which we found out that basically Cold Harbor, each time they put numbers in the little box, that's another like kind of personality, another Any of Gemma.
It's unclear still what they're testing in this case. It's obvious that this isn't the first person they've done these tests with before.
Yeah.
This is another step in whatever their ultimate goal is, which is a back seat ultimately.
And it's a good thing you said that, because like the scientist lady that was kind of working with Gemma, she runs out at one point when everything's going down, and she's like, it's the freaking husband. Makes me think definitely that this is not the first couple that they've done something like this with. So we got Mark, we've got Helly, we assume it's Helly with him, and they're talking about, and Helly's down to go with the plan.
Yeah.
But Helly does say something very, like, she's kind of encouraging Any Mark to go in with the plan, to go forward, get Gemma out, and she basically says, I'm her.
Yeah, she says, I'm her, and what I took that is
Helly.
that I'm never going to be what you want, because they will not put her back down here.
Like, Helena's ultimately a part of me. That's kind of how I interpreted that too, because we had her daddy say that she, he saw more Egan in her than he did her outer counterpart, I guess. So all the while this is going on, we have Mark complete it. At one point, I'm like, okay, it's completed. Why aren't we running off with a plan?
The greatest scene
ever
in television history takes place.
Can we please get him, Mr. Milchek, to perform for the Super Bowl halftime show?
So a marching band just shows up in the
an
seventh
entire
floor
severed marching
and
band
just starts marching down the hallways towards him once he finishes it, and comes into the room. Even what's his face hears it from wherever he's at.
First, you missed off how we came out here with that like doll of
the Montauk.
of Egan, and who was definitely messing with him. What were you saying?
I said Montauk instead of monologue.
Oh, so he's got like this like statue guy who's ever doing the voice of it. With, I'm assuming that'd be Mr. Drummond.
That's what it sounded
was
like.
Definitely trying to screw with Milchek, and Milchek wasn't having it. My man's was ready to dance again. So we didn't get a waffle party this season, but we did get the most extraordinary dance song number I've ever seen in the history of television. And I'm just sad that it got cut short in a way.
It got cut short.
I want to see the whole thing.
Helly goes and grabs Milchek's radio and runs into the bathroom to distract him, giving Mark the chance to run off and try and get on to the next floor down, which is where Gemma is being held. And
my man's Dylan shows up.
Shows in.
Just in the nick of time.
Comes in the nick of time, just like in season 1. Helps keep Milchek.
Didn't he like shove the vending machine in front of it?
In there and saves the day. Mark.
And you guys, Dylan, Daniel is usually the type of person where he has his like sports watching stance where he'll sit on the edge of the couch and he starts to pace. But when it comes to shows, he's typically not a shouter, not an animated person. And when I tell you, we're watching this and Daniel rises off the couch, fist in air, and goes, yes! In the middle of it when Dylan showed up. It was great. Because you don't react, even to your beloved Star Trek, you don't react like that when you watch TV or much. Whereas I'm like, pause the TV, I must process this, and I dramatically lay my head back. You were full-blown excited, and I love the rare moments where I get better than, it was fine.
All I've heard from this is that you're more dramatic than me, so I'm going to move forward.
Shocker.
Mark makes it to the door. He has a brief mix-up with Mr. Drummond, and with the help of Brienne of Tarth. Don't tell me that wasn't Brienne of Tarth just severed onto the Severance floor.
The fact that I've seen her, Gwendolyn Christie, beat up 2 men on a TV show, 2 different shows, is just
Yeah.
Chef's kiss.
So he gets down to the floor where Gemma is at.
You're not even mentioning the goat part?
I don't know what to make of the goats. All I can think of is they sacrifice a
Yeah.
goat each time an innie dies.
But
dies
she was
in
so
air
happy
quotes.
that she didn't have to
But
sacrifice
she was
her
happy
goat.
not to have to do it. So Mark makes it down to the floor where Jim is being held. He chases off the lady, who says it's the spouse or the husband or whatever she said.
Yeah, spouse. I think that's what she said.
Gets Gemma out of the weird room with the Cold Harbor room.
And Gemma doesn't know that that's Mark at this point. That's the thing. They have her in there assembling their crib that they tried to build in the Gemma-focused episode that was supposed to be for their unborn child. Yeah. And this is what I felt was so compelling, is that she doesn't know anything about him. And this is still... which Mark is this right now?
I forgot to say it. So when he gets down to the lower floor through the black door, it goes back to Outie Mark.
Yes. But she doesn't know Mark at all
at
this point. Not any Mark, not Outie Mark. She doesn't know who she is. He still convinces her to get out of that room.
She trusts him more than she trusts the voice and the voice that's speaking. When she comes out of the room, finally for the first time in the series, up to this date, we see Mark meets Gemma again for a brief moment.
And it was so beautiful, like such a moment of passion, happiness, joy, like not like shock. It was a gorgeous moment only to be shattered instantly. They get in the elevator and suddenly they both turn into their severed floor things where she's Miss Casey again.
Yep.
And he is Mark S. And the acting was incredible with those.
Well, because they were mid-kiss as the elevator's going up. And the ding goes off, and they both switch over, and you could the actors did such a good job of being like, all of a sudden be like, oh, I've just woken up kissing this person that I really don't know very well.
I feel like Miss Casey personality, though, was, you know what? I've done well. So.
They run to the door.
Yep.
Miss Casey gets out the door and turns back into Gemma, and any Mark is standing there, and suddenly he starts to hesitate. And then Helly comes around the corner. And then slowly he turns and goes with Helly. And you're latch onto this and you're gonna talk about it for a million years. So I'll just say it. Helly and Mark go to run off, but before she does, Helly gives Gemma some kind of look.
A look.
And then they leave because there's a window in the door.
It looked to me like Helly was giving a bit of a smirk, but maybe rewatching it, I've zoomed in on her face. And it still looks like a little smirk to me. Maybe not quite as smirky as Helena could have been. But just she gives her a look. And I think that it could have easily been interpreted that was Helena. The actress has come out since that plays Helena and said that it's not. And they've kind of and the reason why even I was questioning, I was like, Helly was never cruel. The fact that they gave that look, but one of the main things why I was questioning, even though she gave the look, it was weird, and I was like, is it really going to be Helena? That would be a repeat of season 1, and I think based off of interviews, going back, rewatching the scene ad nauseum, I think that you can justify that it was Helly, but Helly and Mark both realizing that they are, while they have those counterparts, they have a life to live as Ennies, and I think part of Helly being like, I'm her, also was maybe her dad got in her head a little bit about you have more Egan in you, and maybe that doesn't mean to use the Egan for bad, but she realized that she does have some power. Yeah. So I don't know. I think the look was confusing. I think it was done intentionally to mislead viewers.
I think it was in a very intentional. I bet they spent a lot of time getting that look right.
Yeah, because that was the main thing they stressed the whole time, that Helly was never cruel. And I feel like the Helly we have come to know would have insisted that he go ahead and be with Gemma, but at the same time, wouldn't it also be cruel to collectively, you'd be ending any Mark's life? No matter what he said about the reintegration, them coming back together, and I think any Mark in that moment made the most moral choice he could do. He didn't let Gemma die. He assumes that she's going to go to safety, but he knew if he walked through that door, he was never going to get to see his love or his team or his friends again. And he did make that choice for himself. So I think for me, as obviously a married person, I felt Gemma's pain so much, but I also understand why Mark made the choice he did. What do you think?
Do you think that if Helly hadn't have showed up there at that last moment, he would have still made that choice, or do you think he would have went out the door?
I don't know. Honestly, I think he might have still chosen to go find Helly.
Because that's my thinking is like I like that Mark. I agree with you that Mark made a decision for himself for the first time ever because it was finally a time he got to choose. My only concern is, did his choice get taken away a little bit by Helly showing up there at the last minute? Was she being kind of selfish and making her own choice?
I don't know, because I think we saw that he was still conflicted about the whole thing.
Yeah.
And about, he knew that he'd be collectively, no matter what Mark Scout said about reintegration, he still knew, he knew the writing on the wall and the way he was spoken to. I think it definitely helped him make the choice to go with Helly, but I don't know. His judgment could have been clouded in that moment.
So
I think he did prioritize getting Gemma to safety. And then one of the other things that I noticed, and a lot of fans were like, Gemma was told by the one dude that, like, when she was asking about Mark, that Mark had moved on.
Right.
And we all thought that that in that moment that Gemma had no idea that Mark was severed, and that made it even more painful and worse. But since then, the actress who plays Gemma, I believe, has come out and said that she realized that Mark was severed, but she still kept trying to scream to get him to come to her. So these are just going by what the actors are saying with the roles they were given.
I take that at its face value from the actors, but I also, at the end of the day, with season 3 not being written yet, the writers could change that to, like, that's the stuff that the actor has in their mind when they're trying to act the scene, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that that's how it's going to be.
Well, I think in the case of Helly, that she was told that it was Helly, like from what she said in an interview.
And that's important. And I don't doubt that the actress that plays Gemma was told that as well.
Regardless,
but
so painful.
Yeah, they could change it.
She suffered so much. They had that brief moment of happiness. And I keep seeing, it's a funny thing because I keep seeing like ship wars, and I'm like, or people that are so mad at any Mark for the choice he made. And I'm like, you guys missed the entire point of the whole season in the show.
Just a bunch of outies.
Are different people, and that while they are like as one, it's the innies, like the moral, the ethical dilemma of what we're doing. And if you watch this finale and you were like, well, we learned nothing about Lumen, I'm not sure we're ever gonna.
That's not what this show's about.
That's not the point.
That's not what the show's about.
And we're not trying to say that to sound like elitist or something, because I've seen some people criticize Severance fans for like coming off that way.
The show's ultimately about, like, I mean, really deeply down to it, it's about the nature of, who you are as a person, what makes you you, but it's also a commentary on our current work culture here in this country and how employers view their employees and all those kind of things.
And like I was saying, that a lot of people have criticized Severance fans for saying stuff like that we're smarter than everybody else or something like that. And I don't think that's the case.
I mean,
I don't think this Daniel, I don't think that's what, like, if you're watching the show straight up for a mystery, you're not going to get like the mystery that you're wanting, because I'm not sure you ever know about Lumen. But like what Daniel was saying, it's so much more than that. And I think it's a really good lens on how that, plays out. And any show, again, we'll get in the White Lotus in a minute. Any show has fans that gatekeep and think they're the smartest ones on the universe. Yeah. So don't let that be a reason to stop you from watching this show. It's really good. No. Even though we've spoiled everything. If you're like, I don't care, I'm never going to watch Severance, and you've heard us talk, trust me,
what are you doing here?
Watching it's going to be even better. Who would you have gone with? Because if you say you're any, knowing that I'm your outie wife, I will. Oh my gosh,
this is a trap question that wives are asking their husbands after this episode, and I will not be a party to it.
Just say you'd pick me.
I'd pick you. Who would you pick?
You.
Yeah, I don't believe that for a second. So anyways, Mark and Helly turn the corner, run off down the hallway into whatever in the world they're going to be doing, and then the episode ends.
Well, do we like how the season began of Severance of Mark running, trying to find Gemma, and then it ended with him running away from Gemma?
Yeah.
I think, and I've seen criticism that are like, what do Mark and Helly think's going to happen? That they're running away. What does he think's going to happen? No, that's, again, not the point. It's that moment of, I'm going to spend if I'm going to like live, I'm going to spend my last few moments with somebody I love and care about deeply, and see what happens that way.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm ready to call it right now. I don't need any further debate. I don't need any further conversation. Severance is the best thing going.
Over the Bear?
Over the Bear.
And you're not going to wait till you see The Bear season 4?
Well, The Bear season 4 might be the last season of The Bear.
Yeah.
And if it is, it doesn't matter anyway.
And that's why I can't pick Hacks, right?
That's why I'm saying it now, before The Bear season 4 comes out, that this is, for me, taking the place of The Bear as the best thing going.
And that's why I can't pick Hacks, though, correct? Because you can't have it's got to be a show with knowing that we're going to have ongoing seasons.
Yeah, correct.
I think I'm going to tend to agree with you for now. I got to wait and see what comes down the pipe, because if I can't pick Hacks because it's ending, and I feel like while I know I'm getting more of the White Lotus is a hard call for that, because each season and cast and story is different.
Yeah. With
some remaining, through points connected. And while again, I liked season 2 of the White Lotus, I'm a season 1 purist, and it would not have been in my pick, but season 3 is knocking it out of the park so far. But I feel like that's one I can't. How do you feel about like putting? I know you said Severance, but just in terms of like a show like the White Lotus that's so different, do you think that even like can go in that category?
I think you could make the case for something like that, but I think the reason you put behind it is that season 2 wasn't as good for you as the first and what we're looking at here in the third. So
see, I just feel like you can't, because that's one of the things that I like so much about shows is character growth and development, and each season of the White Lotus is different. So that's why I would not put it in a category to be the best thing going, because it's always going to be different.
I understand that logic. It makes perfect sense to me.
So circling back before we get into the White Lotus, about Severance, the music in the ending credits was also chef's kiss, no notes.
Well, before we even get to the music at the end of the episode, Milchek's entrance music from the Bulls intro music, and then the band playing some really intense music, just making the entire scene so much more intense because they kept the band music going the entire time. And then like that song there at the end, which I saw somebody on TikTok say it was a reference from another movie. That's how that movie ended, but I don't know what the movie is. It's like an
nice.
older.
Great. We all know a lot from what you just said.
I think it might be The Graduate from like.
Okay, that would make sense, because I have seen a lot of pictures of. Is it Dustin Hoffman in The Graduate? Of The Graduate with him, and because he ends up choosing the daughter, right?
Right.
Not Mrs. Robinson. I've never seen that movie
that's correct.
either. And I've been seeing that image with Helly and Mark S.
Okay,
side
that's
by
probably
side.
where it's from then. Yeah.
Context clues, baby.
It was, like you said, every element from the cinematography to the music to the acting to the script to whatever set design. It was a perfect season finale. It was a perfect television episode, in my opinion. Like, I don't rank them, but if I was giving anything a 10 out of 10, it would be season 2 finale of Severance.
I saw something that was like, oh my gosh, I hated the end of that finale, but I absolutely loved it. Yeah. And it was like, yes, same. Like, we felt the pain, but it was so good. So season 3, do you think Mr. Milchek's going to crash out, or am I going to get some more boogieing from my dude, some little dance moves?
Oh, I think they'll have him dance again, just because now that's the expectation from the fans. We have to have a Milchek dance every season.
Where do we go from?
I don't know where we go. I didn't when I would think about where are we going with season 2 before we got to season 2. Nothing that happened ever crossed my mind as the possibilities. And to be honest, it's really nice as somebody who sits around and thinks about what's possibly going to happen in these shows. I
love it when a show
and
can
those
get me.
Things happen usually. It's really nice to not know, and I'm just going to let myself not know. I'm not going to go read theories. I'm not going to go do all the stuff I would normally do for other shows. I'm just going to let them writers cook and watch what they have.
Well, I think
hopefully not 3 years from now.
I think at the end of season 1, you still had like the whole Innie versus Audi train of thought, but there was still so much focus on the mystery of Lumen.
Yeah.
And season 2 just flipped that and was like, no, this isn't what this show is about. I think that they're going to have to figure out some different, like they were able to justify how we could see Helly again by like he needs to complete Cold Harbor. We got to put her back down there. I'm not sure how we're going to get around because if I'm Mark, Audi Mark, I'm not going back in there if they've managed to get me out of there after what Mark S did. So we're going to have to, and you know what? I think they can do it. I trust the team of writers. I just, like you, Ben Stiller said that we don't have to wait as long.
Yeah, I hope it's not 3 years. Okay, well, now that we've got a new best thing going declared, we can talk about another show that's
well, I haven't fully declared. I'm still waiting for some other stuff.
You're so wishy-washy.
I'm on board with you.
So wishy-washy.
I'm not wishy-washy. Coming from the person who won't rank anything, that thinks Reese's or eggs are the same thing as a Reese cup because you don't understand ratios.
The White Lotus, Season 3, Episode 6.
Piper, no.
Entitled Denials.
Whew.
So this is kind of the fallout episode from the previous episode where we kind of see
the two brothers.
Yeah.
We got, yeah. Even
they did stuff. They did stuff. They did
things.
Stuff, and we're not going to go into great detail, but they did stuff
together.
And both of them seem to be having feelings about how they feel about that. Different feelings, I think, but
yeah. Do you think? Okay, so let's walk it back. We wake up on the boat. Saxon, clearly hungover, drunk. He is having some images of what happened, but not what he has seen in his brain is not exactly what happened with the, intimate moments. Let's put it that way. Ugh. And he says he doesn't remember anything. Now Lachlan comes over and is like, I didn't remember anything. Do you believe that Lachlan didn't remember anything? Do you think his memory, because we see a scene later where Lachlan's with his sister at the Buddhism place and he's like meditating and suddenly he sees the images of what happened. Do we think Lachlan remembered in that moment or not?
If you had asked me before that scene at the Buddhist temple if he remembered anything, I would say he did, and he was just
also repressing it
in that social contract where two people can look at each other, know something weird happened, and go, we're never going to talk about this again, without actually saying that. But the scene at the Buddhist temple where he has the flash kind of leads me to believe maybe he did not actually remember what happened, and that was his kind of coming back to him, because he's 18. They had a lot of alcohol and recreational drugs over the course of that night. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
I feel like I think his reaction to it upon realization is more of a confused, like, did that really just happen? Whereas Saxon's is like disgust. Oh my gosh, I have been violated. Obviously, Saxon is a despicable character, but I think in this moment with what happened, I feel like Lachlan was like the bad guy in the scene and the aggressor, so to speak. I really do. Have you seen the preview for next week? He is shirtless on the bed with his sister. I hope that's just Mike White trying to throw us all off, because I can't take the trifecta of Flowers in the Attic children. I can't.
I have not seen next episode. So speaking of the sister, so she had told her parents last episode why she was actually wanted to come to Thailand.
You want to live in Taiwan?
And she gets them to agree to go meet with the head monk at the temple to talk to him and kind of get more comfortable. And Parker,
I have seen the conditions, and it is dire. Tim
is going through it.
Yeah.
He talks to the monk and actually seems to kind of be comforted by him.
It.
And I do want to say, I'm not familiar with Buddhism in any way. I felt like the explanation of what happens when we die that was given there was mildly comforting.
That was very nice.
To a certain extent. And so he comes out and basically seems like he doesn't have a problem with it. And so Parker Posey gives the ultimatum. Victoria gives the ultimatum to basically, stay here for one night and see if you like, and if you come and you say you want to stay here, then you can stay.
Her trying to talk to the monks that weren't speaking was taking me out. She just, please give Parker Posey all of the awards for this.
I don't think they know English. They didn't speak, and because they're probably on a vow of silence. And
I wish I could have seen her talk to the leader monk guy. I felt like, though, when it comes to Piper, I think right now we're seeing just poor little bored rich girl syndrome that wants a different life, wants something out there. I don't think a lot of people are saying, is she like Quinn, the boy that ended up staying in Hawaii from season 1? I don't think so. I think it's different. Quinn had felt ostracized and wanted something different for himself. I think she's just at a place where she's like, where's my life going? And this is just the fad that she wants to try to get away from her parents. Because at the end of the day, she was like, I need mom and dad's support, because if they don't support her, she's not going to have the money to fly out there again and go stay. I don't know. We'll see. It was giving me like bored little rich girl syndrome, who just wants to try to be something she's not and break away from her family a little bit, a little hint of a dash of rebellion. But maybe I'm wrong. We'll see.
I certainly see the spoiled little rich girl part. I feel like she's genuine in her desire to come here and stay. So I don't know that I would use the word fad necessarily.
You could have a bunch of sister wives.
but I do think that she does not know the full extent of what she would be getting herself into by committing to that. Or she does know that, and she's not sure that she's going to be able to fully commit to it, which is why she needs the parental support. Otherwise, if she goes without their support, they're not just going to be able to fly her. They're not going to just fly her home whenever she wants.
I think it's a hint of rebellion too, a little bit in a different way. It's just, I don't know. At least it gave us some comedy and then like we come back and they're back at the room, and basically Victoria just pops off on Tim. She's like, you want to encourage this for her to live in a monastery? Is that what she says?
Yeah, and then, but that leads them to the conversation they had where, because from last episode we know Tim was seriously considering, ending his own life, and
he's basically like, shouldn't we teach our kids, to rough it and how to make it on their own? Because what if they're not going to have all this stuff someday? And she's like, why wouldn't they?
Yeah, and then she makes the comment basically like, well, why would I want to live that way?
Yeah, she's like, we want to raise them to be afraid to be poor.
That is honestly furthering his descent into a bad place by hearing that.
He's like, what if it went away? She's like, well, honestly, I wouldn't want. She's like, well, I wouldn't want it. I think at this point in my age, I wouldn't want to live uncomfortably or whatever she says. Yeah. And I'm like, preaching, honey.
But it's also like really damaging to him and his psyche, because he basically is hearing that his wife is not going to be at his side when all this stuff goes down.
I think he went from a place of sort of feeling at peace from that monk. Like, maybe it would be okay, and this is going to teach Piper that she can, do more to have riches. And then Victoria's like, why would I want to live uncomfortably at my age? Not Piper, Victoria.
Yeah.
I always think of Victoria because of the whole Piper, no. No. Do you agree with Victoria a little bit, though? Like, as an old, like, could you go back? And I'll phrase it for you this way. We'll take the money out of it, okay? I'm gonna change it up for you a little bit.
Hit me up.
Huh?
Hit me up.
Could you go back to living in a tiny shoebox dorm with a roommate, with communal showers, and that type of life? As fun as dorm life was, could you do that again? I don't think I could.
Do I want to? Absolutely not. If I had to do it to ensure my survival, yeah, I could do it.
I guess I'm thinking of want versus could.
Right, and I think that in Victoria's mind, both of those are a no. She doesn't want to do it.
My girl's without her lorazepam,
and
though.
She could not do it.
You have to understand, she's starting to. She doesn't have her lorazepam. I have to go drink myself to sleep now. Well, speaking of other people in this storyline, world's worst security guard of all time.
God, yeah.
He went into their room and took the gun.
He somehow found the gun.
So when Timothy tries to go look for it, because now his head's completely messed again, he's not going to find it. And I feel like he can't really get mad about that because he stole it in the first place.
I'm telling you right now, I'm going to make a prediction. Because of the shelf that he put it in with all those different boxes, he's going to have like a freak out. Like all those things are going to, there's going to be a scene where he's just like pulling all those boxes out.
Like when I try to find an outfit that I insisted was in a drawer and I can't find it.
Because he's going to not remember exactly which one he put it in and start just pulling them all out when it's not there and the one he thought it was in.
I could see that.
Yeah. I'm kind of that, him finding that gun so quickly and just getting it right back to his thing, and his boss never found out that it was gone, and then he goes to the shooting range and shoots it. I didn't see that coming. I kind of thought once Tim had the gun, that was it.
I feel like he kind of found it in the nick of time.
Yeah, he did.
his storyline's a bore. I really don't like the little security. It's not boring. That's not what I mean. I meant he is a bore as a person. He's a terrible security guard. Like the first
worst security guard.
he should have
ever.
been like, "Hey, I need to search you." Instead, and that was the previous episode, and Tim was just like, "No."
So,
by the way, there are people in the world that don't know the phrase Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. I saw that on TikTok, and I'm like, that must be a thing from Southern, Appalachian, and Southern and down. Because when Saxon's in there trying to make his little shake with his stupid blender, because he's had just the worst night ever, and she's doing that, she's trying to talk to Timothy, and Victoria's like, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph Saxon. Just took me out.
Well, there's plenty of people that didn't grow up in the good old Bible Belt.
I guess not. Okay, so the moment where Saxon found out what happened, he's talking to the two girls. Chelsea's face was like, basically, I feel like she spoke for all of us. Her like, yeah, we're not judging. He's like, no, that's not what we do. So I have to ask you, because I'm seeing mixed opinions on this.
Sure.
And the way I fall on it is he's a jerk, but I do feel bad for him in this moment. Do you feel bad for Saxon? I don't think anybody deserves to get assaulted, which I basically feel like happened.
Yeah, I mean, there's some sympathy there. I mean, I will say, like, he was the pusher to put him in that situation in the first place, and he was the pusher to be like...
He didn't want to take the drugs.
He didn't want to take the drugs, you're right.
And I don't think he would have done that if he hadn't taken the drugs.
Sure, but he pushed him to that situation, and he also was the one talking to his brother about, let's get with these girls and all this stuff. So
he didn't mean let's get with each other.
I'm not saying he got what he deserved. That's not what I'm saying. I think, obviously he didn't ask for that. He's not completely innocent in that situation either.
But I still feel bad at him having this realization, and it could be like, maybe he's thinking, like, did I encourage this somehow?
Right, exactly, yeah.
I don't know. We'll see how it plays off. Sometimes I feel like the toxic brand of man that Saxon is might double down on it and actually get meaner about it and not be like, what have I done?
Yeah.
What's going on? And we might have the next second where we're mad at him again. I really hope the whole Lachlan and Piper, because Lachlan's going to stay overnight with Piper at the monastery. And I'm hoping that whole, like, shirtless in the bed with his sister is just since we're all like, about what happened, although they had some creepy vibes too. I think, I just can't. I think Lachlan is confused about a lot of different things, and we're seeing that play out on screen. So speaking of not confused, but telling it like how it is, my girl Lori, I finally figured out one of the blondes' names. It's Kate, Lori, and Jacqueline. It took me how many episodes? 6 instead of the 3 blondes. Lori's done with being fake.
Yeah.
So Kate tells her that Jacqueline snuck. Is his name Nico?
Yeah, I think
Every time you know what I think about?
No, I don't.
Nicolaj. Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Every time they say this guy's name. So Kate, like, spills the beans about that, and Jacqueline, Lori, who, by the way, the power of a white woman being able to overcome a severe hangover, how she was able to just talk and chat at breakfast after that night.
I paused the show and been like, if I had done half of what they had done the night before, I'd still be comatose up in the bed.
Like, it makes sense why Kate was down there eating breakfast, because she didn't have the drinks. She wanted to go to bed the whole time. Jacqueline did look tired and a little hungover, and her boyfriend, husband, whatever, finally checked in with her. And so Kate tells Lori this, and Lori's like, I'm sick of Jacqueline. Fake stuff. She's like, she was pushing pushing Nico on me all week. Then it's just classic Jacqueline. Same crap she's done since 10th grade. And I feel like this dynamic of female friendships reminds you of the people that you were friends with you're younger. You grow and you change from, but then when you get together, you just act exactly like you did in high school. So many women, I think, can relate to that experience. I'm not sure about you dudes, but so many women can relate to that.
And not in the same way, but I do think people easily fall back into those roles that were established in high school when they get around those. And you have
Kate, well, she's one of the ones leading the charge of the gossip. When Jacqueline and Lori are actually confronting each other, she's like, "Oh no!" I thought that was funny, and I'm like, "Get her, Lori!" And then Jacqueline's just acting like basically gaslighting her friends, like, "Oh, that didn't happen. You didn't see anything." And then Jacqueline, who's been the queen of gossip too, is like, "Why is everybody gossiping about me?" So these 3 broads, I'm about had it with them, except for Lori. So, and somebody pointed out too about how each of their, like, jobs and kind of what they do matches up with them. Like, Lori's the lawyer, so of course she's going to tell you what it is. Jacqueline's the actress, desperate to hang on her youth. Of course she's going to try to have her own spin, her own image story. And then Kate does the whole, like, charity work and stuff, so she's going to just be like, try to be the nice one, even though they're all talking about each other. Then Belinda's son finally showed up.
Finally shows up, catches her in the sack with her masseuse guy,
which he seems surprisingly chill about.
Yeah, he did. It didn't seem like that was the first time.
Not phased, yeah. But now we've got Gary/Greg, who ran into Belinda,
inviting her up to the party, which is probably next episode.
And he's also told Chloe, that's his wife's name, who had the event with both of the brothers on the boats. So he told her to go find Saxon and tell her to invite Saxon and Lachlan to this boat party. But Lachlan's not going to be able to be there because he's going to be with Piper at the Buddhism at the monastery.
I don't know why he wants them both there.
I think that he has security cameras on the boat and watched the whole thing, and he wants to he knows that they're a rich family and wants to blackmail them and get more money. That's what I think he's there for. And I think he wants to threaten Belinda.
Yeah. I think that's what's happening, around. But I wonder if he's going to throw us a loop because he's being really weird about Greg.
Or maybe he wants to have some fun with all of them. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
And then Walton Goggins' character, Rick, and his friend that's, who is this girl I see? that wants to be an Asian woman, Sam Rockwell's character. They get back together and he's like, I need you to pretend to be like this movie producer guy to get into the hotel lady's house. We see him come face to face with a man that allegedly shot his father. My theory is that man is his father.
You think?
I think so, but who knows?
I mean, it's possible.
I don't really know where they're going with that.
Because I'm pretty sure Rick has said multiple times he was very young, so he probably wouldn't really remember what he looked like. You'd think he'd have a picture.
Can you imagine, though, like a parent on their deathbed and being like, your dad was, like, killed because maybe they didn't want to admit that their dad, like, left them?
Yeah, that's true. That's possible.
But I don't know what Mike White has up his sleeve. It could be totally different than what we're thinking, but just like I trust the Severance team of writers, I trust Mike White to let's make it weird.
Oh, it's going to be weird.
But not too weird.
Of course, we didn't get to see him either, and that, I think, was a pivotal shot. They intentionally kept us from seeing the face of the guy. Like, we heard his voice, but we didn't see his face. So I think that's an important detail that we're gonna get
I don't need any brother sister action though next week, y'all. I just don't.
Yeah, we could leave that part. We could leave that part out.
Speaking of siblings, what about those gemstones? Judy Gemstone?
Lord tell me.
There will come a payday. Hallelujah, what a payday.
That's all I've heard this entire week. So of course we watched season 1 and we told everybody, listen, we're probably going to put the foot on the gas here. So we
delivered. We're
going to talk about season 2 and 3 here, but we've also watched season 4. We're just not going to talk about it yet, or parts of season 4.
We might talk about part of it. We did not watch the recent episode of season 4, episode 3 that aired Sunday night because the White Lotus already comes on too late and we're very old.
We're sitting around waiting all day just for that to come on.
I really do feel like that's all I do is just wait around for the White Lotus.
A 9 p.m. start is late enough. I can't do a 10 p.m.
So Righteous Gemstones, if I knew that season 4 wasn't the last, that would make my conversation for best thing going because it checks all the boxes. I'm going to say it right now. Aside from one stupid joke, it's the funniest show I have seen since Schitt's Creek.
It's definitely funny. I don't know for me personally if I would raise it up into the conversation of best thing going, but it is definitely funny.
Different, like you're the type. Okay, I guess you're the freak that just said you would sever yourself so you could watch. Would you unsever Daniel? Watch Severance over and over and over again?
I would probably rewatch it. I don't know if I'd watch it over and over and over again.
For me, part of a reason that I like a show so much is watchability. And while I love Severance and think it's brilliant, it's not the type of show for me mentally that I can just kick back with. Whereas my Gemstones and Keith, would you like some wieners and ice cream? Like, I can just kick back and watch Gemstones. Now, I'll address the elephant in the room. What was the stupid joke? I expect great writers to not pull out dumb, stereotypical jokes. But that being said, Aunt Tiffany is the sweetest character in the show. So, fine. you went. I said, please don't be from West Virginia. And of course they went there. But maybe I'll start washing my dresses with tree bark. Remember the ABCs of showering. A, ankles. B,
butthole. And C, cooter.
I don't know how the actress that plays Judy gets through her lines with a straight face.
Oh, I'm sure.
Nah, son.
I'm sure the bloopers are just. I'm sure this show has like an epic blooper
Daddy's
reel.
a slut. And then I find out I need Hannah to text us since she's anti-social media and chime in. I can't believe that you guys, every time they have a dinner scene with the kids and they're like eating with their forks and like casually flipping each other off. I thought all siblings did that. My siblings and I did that to each other all the time in front of our parents. And I'm like, oh, that's so relatable. I'm like, did you and Hannah ever do that? And you're like, no.
Unfortunately, I do not recall that. I just ate fast enough that I could leave. And it wasn't the dinner table, it was the dinner catch.
The couch. Oh, gosh.
So, yeah, season 2, I thought was really good.
Was that the one with the ninja
The ninja cyclist.
Has Eric Roberts ever played a non-shady character, like in anything?
No, I don't think so.
Because he was the main, who we thought was the villain, but he wasn't the villain. It was the Listens.
Yeah.
The Texas church.
Yeah. Who were making the resort Zion's Landing down in Florida.
Why hasn't anybody done that yet for like Myrtle Beach?
I'm sure
I feel like
it
they're like, do you
exists.
want to go to the beach with Jesus? Like, I think that like would be a great business investment. Like, I could see it could be like a retreat, a leadership place. Like, it has to have been done before.
I'm sure
it
it has. I'm sure
Joe
it has.
Jonas.
Joe Jonas
shows
shows up
up.
for some reason.
He's one of the donors. And at first I was like, oh, they wouldn't get Joe Jonas to actually be on the show. They did.
Yep.
And it was
Macaulay
awesome.
Culkin
Macaulay Culkin.
shows up as baby Billy's estranged son.
We finally got to see Herman after. Then it was, so we have this scene. First of all, we like had to pause because we're like, oh my gosh, Macaulay Culkin. And then Macaulay Culkin is talking to baby Billy because Billy basically abandoned him, we find out, at the mall on Christmas because he couldn't handle the stress of fatherhood and all that stuff. And he's, baby Billy has a little bit of goodness in him, but is mostly, let's call it what it is, a kind of a shady dude.
He's selfish, yeah.
And he's like, and Macaulay Culkin, Harmon, is like, yeah, Mom told me that you just turned into a cat. She did buy me the cat that day. And Billy's like, why would she do that? We got to see Macaulay Culkin punch.
Yeah, that was good.
Goggins.
That was good. And honestly, like the scenes with baby Billy there at the end of that season 2 and meeting back up with his son and also having, ghost Amy Lee
and also don't forget the touching toilet baby.
Well, I was going to wait before come on a second. Give me a second here. But was actually some of the most touching parts of the season. Like this show veers into comedy and then it'll do something really touching like baby Billy, talking to his dead sister because she really is the best part of him and he really misses her.
She's the best part of
and
all
then the
of
next
them.
second his wife from West Virginia has a toilet baby.
And she's a toilet
and
baby
she was
herself.
a toilet baby. So
and we have the physical comedy of them having
he
to
grabs
reach
the
down
umbilical cord to try and pull it up.
get it out like
and
it's
when
a well. And then we have Jesse they're getting run off by the Listens.
Yeah.
But then it ends up being like
They always wrap it up.
Yeah,
they always wrap it up.
I feel like each season has wrapped up in a way that it could be the series finale. How do they? Okay, so we know what happened to the Listens. They ended up like in Alaska or something and got eaten by wolves.
Yeah.
Apparently, who came around like where they made them go out to the ocean? Who showed up to put us like to come get them? I don't remember.
They just ran off. Remember, they made them walk into the water and then they just ran away.
And they
yeah.
went. Okay, I remember what happened now. And so they got the heck out of Dodge, but obviously Martin and Eli and them tracked them down. Okay, I see.
Yep.
And then the third season focused on their other cousins from Eli's side, the Montgomerys. We like Carl.
Stinking Montgomerys.
And we also had that Judy had come back from the road and she had a non-sex affair on our poor little BJ with Steven, who worked at the church. So they had their own issues that they had to go through. And one of the things that I like so much is that Jesse in season 3 has these like sideburns. He's always had these sideburns, but his hair looked really black. And I was like thinking to myself before they addressed it, I'm like, that is a terrible dye job on Danny McBride. I don't know what they're thinking. And then it turns out it was intentionally terrible because it was Jesse trying to look younger. What do you think about Pontius, his Pete Davidson lookalike son?
Every time throughout season, I think it was season 2, maybe I think it was season 3 was when he started having the tattoos. Every single scene he is in that show, I swear, he has a new tattoo.
Yeah.
Like it's a running gag that every time we see him on screen, he has new tattoos. And it was really, I enjoyed it. It was quite funny.
I'm getting the vibe that Pontius might be more of a part in season 4 because I really think that Pontius is the child that Jesse deserves at the end of the day. And I don't know, they're talking about, because Gideon at the end of season 3, and I knew this was going to happen, so he had to leave Hollywood again, come back, he couldn't work as a stunt double, and he's driving around Grandpa Eli, and you see him start to read that book, and suddenly Gideon decides he wants to be a preacher, but when season 4 starts, which we've again only watched the first 2 episodes, we find out that he's not exactly, that's like, they said it's like the one thing Gideon's not good at.
Yeah, he wasn't
it's
good
preaching.
at it. So,
do you think they could go a route where Pontius could actually end up being the one? Because we had the opening episode of season 4 that was the backstory of the gemstone relative who was kind of a criminal, killed the preacher, was a chaplain in the army, and then he has kind of an epiphany where he starts to read the Bible. And I know they're going to circle back to that episode for some type of reference. Do we think Pontius is just going to be another little talkbacky kid?
I mean,
so do you think it'll come into relevance? I don't know.
I think that prelude episode has relevance to the story of the season, and so I wonder, I think you might be onto something there. If it's Pontius or somebody else kind of representing that storyline that they told of the first gemstone from that prelude episode, which, by the way,
or I'm just bonkers. It's the bonker part. Billy's bonkers.
Before we had watched that episode of season 4.
Wait, what is it?
Baby Billy's Bible Bonkers.
All right,
Baby Billy Bible Bonkers. Baby Billy Bible Bonkers.
I had to get that out. What were you saying?
I heard a lot of people complain about that opening to season 4, and I thought that was a great episode.
And
like
again,
an individual standalone episode of television, that was really good.
Like, our thoughts could be slightly clouded because we did watch everything all together, but it's not like season 3 ended on a cliffhanger that we needed to immediately know what happens. I loved it. I thought it was great. I would watch a spinoff with Bradley Cooper and them. I would also want a BJ and Judy spinoff. And can we talk about the kids that play young Jesse, young Judy?
Oh yeah, they're great. They bring them back every season. They're a little bit older to fit the time frame that they're going in. They're like aging them up with the time frames that they're going through. They're doing a great job, like impersonating the actors.
I loved seeing Judy's old room because she had a Backstreet Boys poster, and I was like, I totally had that poster. And Sweet Keef, I love Keef. What did Eli call him when he was in it, when he came out of his coma after it was at season 2? So we have. I thought they were going to draw it out with Keith and Kelvin a little bit longer than they did, and they had them kiss finally
at the end of season 3. Yeah, I think that is. I wonder if they kind of had an idea that season 4 might be it, and that's where they're going with the story. Is that season 3 at the end they acknowledge the relationship finally,
and now it's navigating it in this climate.
And we've already seen in season 4 how Kelvin doesn't really want to show affection in a public manner. So.
Like, the family is totally cool with it, but that doesn't mean that everybody else is going to be cool with it. But he and Keith have kind of started, like, their own, their new thing. First, let's say we had the youth group thing in season 1. Then we had what do they call it? The God Squad?
The muscle men, the bodybuilders.
Then we had the Smut Busters in season 3. And now he started, like, a more accepting, like, kind of line of the church, Prism. But even with that, Kelvin is still, I think, struggling. I think that's going to be kind of their storyline. But they'll do it in a humorous manner, of course. What about BJ and his new hobby in season 4? We're just going to
pole dancing.
Who's your favorite character?
All characters?
Yeah.
I don't know. Keith really entertains me quite a bit. He's not in very much. Of course, I think side characters is Keith. Main characters, I go Baby Billy.
Baby Billy.
And Baby Billy, I think you could even almost call like a side character because he's not always there.
Which gemstone? Oh, the 3 kids. I'm going to have to go with my girl Judy Gemstone. Nah, son.
Judy kind of gets on my nerves a little bit, but
what?
She is funny.
Daddy, funny. I can't. Okay.
Daddy,
Daniel's been trying
Daddy.
to teach me to speak Southern.
Daddy.
You had said I have to do like a TH.
Daddy.
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 Am I doing it right?
Daddy.
I want to go more like daddy. That's
Daddy.
not like daddy.
They sometimes kind of get into that. They say it daddy a little bit every now and then.
I feel like they do his like Tennessee relatives do, but the ones.
Yeah.
Okay, let me try it. Daddy.
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 Daddy. You're not saying it fast enough.
Daddy.
Yeah. So you get annoyed because I'll slip into that accent when we watch the show, not on purpose.
I do it on purpose.
I'm not doing it on purpose. It's just where I'm from. It's just in me.
All right. Well, I'm excited for what season 4 has to offer. So hopefully we'll probably end up having to do the same way that we're going to talk about the next show. We'll be a week behind each because I can't until. I don't know because
I can't stay up till 10 o'clock at night.
When White Lotus ends, I don't think they're going to move it up a time slot.
No.
All right. So, anything else you want to say about our gemstones?
Nope.
All right. Let's move right along. We forgot to talk about it's clearly making an impression. We forgot to talk about it last week, but we have 2 episodes to talk about. Suits LA.
So this is episodes 3 and 4. I thought at least for episode 3, noted improvement.
Oh, absolutely. Which is still kind of disappointing that we forgot to talk about it last week, but we both agreed that it was much better than the first 2, and I think episode 4 was good as well. I really liked how episode 3, they're doing what you said they should do, bringing in like D-list actors. They brought in Brian Baumgartner, who played Kevin from The Office.
Yep.
And I guess they brought in somebody that was on Veronica Mars, which I never really watched that show. He played like the dad or something in the most recent episode. And I can definitely tell you that Ted's story, our Mr. Green Arrow himself, his is the least interesting plot point
boring.
to me.
Don't care.
We did find a little bit more of him about like the dynamics with his dad. His dad passed away. We found out some like, did you know about all this happening? And we got more insight into his relationship with the other guy with the blonde hair, whose name escapes me, who showed up on Gemstones, by the way.
By the way, very briefly.
As the pastor that Bradley Cooper killed. Anyway, moving on. We got to know about his relationship with Ted and then how Samantha fit into all of that. So we did get a little backstory on that in season 3. But I still find the more interesting characters to be like Erica, her assistant, Jake Jagalski from One Tree Hill. What is his name is Rick in the show.
I do not. I couldn't put money down. You couldn't bother to be asked what his last name is, but Rick is his first name.
Yeah, I have no idea what his last name is. Yeah, we got finally episode 4. We saw Mr. Harvey Specter show up. Of course, it was in a flashback. We knew it was going to be in a flashback. That episode was an example of where I can tell that when writers listen to what fans are saying, because a lot of times fans would go on and on and on about how Harvey is Batman. I think he did refer to himself as Batman in Suits a couple times, correct?
I don't recall.
But they really went into it, and what did you say? They missed a major opportunity.
They really went into the Batman ethos and both of them having that conversation.
Superman, you're
and they missed the opportunity to make a Green Arrow joke.
I don't know why they would it's all related to DC. I don't know why they missed that opportunity.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Unless maybe the guy that was the Green Arrow did not want a joke about the Green Arrow to be made.
I felt like Gabriel Mock stepped in and was just Harvey Specter again.
Just older. Then you should have been. That's the one thing
they didn't do. Like on Gemstones, when they do flashbacks with like Eli, it's almost a jump scare to me where I see John Goodman looking younger. Like
they
how
do
I
a
remember
good
him
job.
Looking.
They do a better job than they even attempted to here.
I don't think they have the budget for that on Suits.
No.
They're like yellow filter. Let's go.
Yeah.
I do wish we would have seen in the background a long-haired Mike Ross creeping,
delivering something.
Yeah, like he was always creeping in the background. Somehow, this flashback scenes with Harvey in regular Suits. And some of the one-liners in Suits, I feel, the Suits LA, just the cheesy stuff they say, is taking me back to the original. But then they almost played off a joke on it that I liked in the most recent episode.
Yeah, more of that.
Yeah, like they had like the apples or something. Like I have because I think they're referring to balls, right? Is that correct?
That would be correct.
And like, so they have the guy like take a bite of it. He's like, yeah, I can't. This is stupid. I can't do this. And it was almost like they were making fun of themselves. And I enjoyed that.
Yeah. I think that kind of comedy was good. I think like you'd already talked about, bringing in lesser actors to play themselves and just be crazy. is a really interesting way they could go. Patton Oswalt was in episode 3
with Kevin.
And like you said, even the actor that was in episode 4 that we weren't familiar with, we hadn't seen him anything. He was still funny because they just got to go play. They basically say play yourself, but a really super exaggerated version. Let's get weird with it, and that's the kind of thing that I think the hook of the show doesn't have our Mike Ross, but you could have this actor of the week kind of thing coming in to be weird and at least get you until you start to get some of these characters established and get them liked. Because right now the biggest thing for me that the show is struggling with is likability of the main characters. There's not a lot going on.
Patton Oswalt shows up in like every show I ever watch as himself, almost.
Of course he does.
Okay, so how are we going to work in? We know we have the relationship with Harvey because Ted and Harvey knew each other. They were on that, like, I assume, baseball league for lawyers.
Sure.
I don't know how they had the time with all they had going on.
Sure, yeah.
And the creators have said we hope to see other characters from Suits. I'm assuming sometimes in the world of high-profile law, everybody kind of does know each other, and that might be able to justify how I might see a Louis Litt type person.
Oh, yeah. There's no reason why we wouldn't be able to see all those other people just because their two law firms get intertangled with each other for some reason.
I feel like when I first read about the concept of Suits LA, I thought it was going to be like a branch of the New York office, and that's clearly not the direction they went at all, which I think it's probably better that they didn't do that.
I think so, too. Long term, I still don't know that I see this show making it too long, but I think they've got some interesting things to play with. They just need to make the right choices with how they do them. And I'm hoping that this backstory of our main character, the Green Arrow, who I don't even know his character's name in the show, Ted Black. This whole backstory of him from 2010, they need to wrap it up because that's the part that's dragging for me on this show is having to constantly be living.
We're gonna get more Harvey in the back story.
I know, but you know what? Here's the thing: if after Harvey plays his part,
arc, you can't rely on Harvey Specter the whole time,
and he comes in, and because we're supposed to see him as of today now as well. That kind of wraps up that story, and then we go forward from there. That's fine. But the storytelling, the way they're doing it right now, where half the story is being told via flashback, via characters that don't look any different whatsoever, and they're not even trying, because it's not just Ted Black. Samantha, they were together, and then they'll see a scene to part, and it's just like the only things that's denoting it is the filter. It's driving me nuts. It's bad storytelling. They did do more
B-roll of like being like, we are in LA to show you that you complained about not having
the pacing issues that I had with the first episode.
The theme song's back.
Yeah, they've gotten that cleaned up. The theme song is back. Like, there are good things happening here.
Yes.
But it's just some of the things that are annoying me, it feels like this is what we started with, so we've got to get it out there.
It's still finding its footing, and really it's going to be a testament of, are you going to be able to keep the viewers, once Harvey Specter's arc has passed, are you going to be able to keep the viewers hooked and wanting to watch more? And I can say that because that third episode was so much better than the first two, and Harvey wasn't in that one because he didn't show up to the fourth one, that was the first time I'd be like, oh, I can maybe watch this show without him. It's not going to be my show I anticipate, like Severance or White Lotus, but, as a show to fill the void. Sure. I don't see it getting more than 2 seasons, though. Not
at this moment. I think they have a lot of improvement to make, so.
All right, well, our dog is our third co-host.
He's had it.
Mr. Marvin is just done with this recording. He's like, you guys have yapped way too long. Let's wrap it up. So I think that about does it for us, unless there's anything else you want to say.
Nothing else I have to say. I just need to make sure it's very clear. The episode is now ending. We are ending the episode. This is the end of the episode. Just so that there's no jump scares for any of our listeners out there. The episode is over.
Goodbye.